All right. Yeah.
Yes,
1 minute.
ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Am I audible clearly?
Yes, Paro, you are audible.
Okay. Great. So I'm all ready now, all set to start. So just let me know when I can.
Okay, Paro. Okay, give me 5 minutes. Huh?
Sure. Hello, Geeta.
Hi. So, Rani, can I start? Can I start? Yeah, okay.
Akshat will be introducing first and then we'll call you.
Hi, am I audible and visible?
Yes.
Yes, so can we start, ma'am? So, very good morning to one and all present here. Our Honorable Principal, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani, ma'am, our Vice Principal, Dr. Rani Tyagi, ma'am, our respected teachers, honorable guests, and all the dear FYs. Myself, Akshat Reheja, and Trisha Yetre are the hosts for today. HR College of Commerce and Economics is a distinguished constituent college under Hyderabad Sindh National Collegiate University, Mumbai, proudly standing as a beacon of academic excellence and holistic development, with over 6,000 students enrolled in both degree and junior college programs. Our institution maintains a perfect gender balance, fostering an inclusive learning environment. Trisha, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. We welcome you to the induction series organized by HR College for our very first year undergraduate students. This program is designed to provide you with invaluable exposure and learning opportunities, setting a strong foundation for your next 3 years. Through various sessions and activities, you'll gain insights and skills that will empower and motivate you throughout your college journey. Now, I would like to call upon Akshat to introduce our esteemed principal, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani ma'am.
Thank you. Our honorable principal, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani ma'am, is the pillar that makes it possible for us to shine our brightest. Ma'am has been an integral part of a college community, serving as a faculty member in the Department of Commerce since 2000. With over 2 years and 2 decades of dedicated service, including a tenure as vice principal, ma'am has fostered numerous student associations under her guidance. Ma'am's life philosophy revolves around nurturing responsible student leaders who drive positive societal change. Ma'am firmly believes that hard work is the key to achieving success and excellence without no substitute. I would like to hand over to ma'am to say a few words. Okay, over to Trisha.
So now I would like to call upon Dr. Geeta Sahu ma'am to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Paramita Chakrabarti ma'am.
So, good morning, everyone, and it is indeed my privilege to introduce my dear departmental colleague with whom I have been working for the past almost 2 decades now. Today, her topic is decoding gender, working towards equality and empowerment. So to introduce Dr. Paramita Chakravarti, she is a very senior teacher in our college, a professor and head of the Department of English and Director Global Research Initiatives at HR College, which is under HSNC University. Formerly, this our college was under the University of Mumbai, and ever since she has been teaching since the year 2021. Her research areas include migration, diaspora, post-colonial studies, gender, and nation. Dr. Chakravarti has been awarded the Fulbright Nehru Doctoral Research Fellowship in the year 2010-11. Dr. Chakravarti has published several research papers in national and international journals. She is also the editor of a peer-reviewed journal titled Writing Today, International Journal of Studies in English, and also the Baltic Worlds from Southern University, Stockingham, and has been a resource person at various forums, including refresher and short-term courses conducted by the University Grants Commission. She also annually teaches a master's level seminar class on feminist critical theory at the University of Sheffield, UK, and has been invited as a speaker for seminars and guest lectures at several forums, both nationally and internationally. And in her spare time, Dr. Chakravarti enjoys trekking and traveling. So, Paramita, a warm welcome to you. And may I formally hand over the session to you uh, for your talk.
Yes, thank you very much, Geeta, for that lovely introduction. I am indeed privileged to do this talk for our first year students who we will be meeting shortly in person. So today's induction lecture topic is, of course, on gender. And before I begin, is the sound all right? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes, you are.
Yes, Paro, it's fine.
Okay, fine. So let's jump into the lecture straight away without any further ado. I want to share my screen, and let me tell you, I really want this to be interactive. And if students have questions or comments, then I would want them to hold their horses for a while. At the end, I want to give 15 minutes for question answers. So let's just quickly go through our PPT. Just give me a minute. Right. So most of us, of course, have heard of this, age-old adage. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and, all kinds of binaries that have been posited, that women are of this kind, men are of this kind, and there are lots of differences. And there will be no, hardly any common ground when it comes to men and women because they're so different from each other. And this is something that we have been, sort of told and taught, and we also practice this kind of binary this kind of separation between men and women. So I'd like to begin with that, put forward that idea, that the stereotype that has been imposed upon us in terms of gender. And in today's lecture I want to touch on a few aspects of this very idea of, are men and women really that different? And if they are different, then how does that difference come to be? Why is it that men and women are considered to be different? I mean, at the very beginning, we must look at ourselves as human beings. But apart from that, we also identify ourselves in terms of our gender and sexuality. That yes, I'm a woman, I identify myself as a woman. Somebody else may identify himself as a man. So let's look at a few things that really make us a gendered person. So today's lecture, I will touch upon sexuality, I'll touch upon stereotypes, roles, gender stratification, identity. We'll also look at violence. We'll also look at why is there a discrimination between men and women, and what forms of discrimination take place in our everyday life. We will also look at, questions of equality, power, agency, how knowledge and discipline, can either push for segregation or make us, work towards a more equal world. So the idea is that whatever we know of gender, we know it because it has been taught to us, because it's practiced, because it's upheld. But all said and done, the world is a very unequal world. And we all know that people have unequal lives, irrespective of, whether they are rich or poor. So even if we are talking about very rich people, even within that particular social strata, men and women would have different kinds of, different access to different resources, access to, say, different kinds of knowledge. And in terms of power sharing also, there would be a difference. So, the idea is, how do we make the world more equal? How do we make it more just? How do we make it possible for everybody to experience their lives fully, to become who they want to become, and more importantly, to realize that there are possibilities in this world to have a full life without having to resort to violence or to become victims of violence. So our objective is to make the world a just place, a more peaceful place, a place where people are equal, and not just equal, there is an equitable sharing of resources. So let's move on. Let's begin with the very idea of gender. Now, a lot of people say, gender and sex are something that's a given. I mean, you're born as a girl or you're born as a woman, as a boy. What can you do about it? And if you're born as a boy, you'll behave like a boy. If you're born as a girl, you'll behave like a girl. You'll grow up into being a woman. You'll grow up into being a man. But what we want to... can you please mute yourself? Right. So if you are looking at gender, gender and sex both are constructed categories. Like gender, for instance, refers to the way members of different sexes are perceived, evaluated, and expected to behave. So if I'm a woman, I identify myself as a woman, I'm expected to behave in a certain way. Now, if I behave like a man, somebody may find it upsetting. Somebody may find it weird. Some people may say she's a tomboy, or, she's basically, not very feminine. She's kind of, somebody to watch out for. People are not comfortable with anybody who breaks gender boundaries. So gender, for instance, is how we present ourselves, how we perform the act of being a woman. Otherwise, gender, for instance, on its own is nothing. It simply is the way we behave. And as we behave, people outside of us, people external to us, perceive us in a certain way. And they identify us as either as a woman or as a man. And when we are ambiguous, when we fall neither in the category of women or in the category of men, we can lead to a lot of, there's a lot of ambiguity and a lot of confusion about who we really are. And I will be looking at these questions also later. So sexual dimorphism. What is sexual dimorphism? It refers to the physiological differences between men and women. The men and women are physiologically different. We have different sexual organs. We look different. We are categorized as either male or female. Okay, these are the traditional ways in which people were divided into categories of sex and gender. So physical dimorphism would be how men and women are different physiologically. But it is interesting to note that not all cultures only think of gender in terms of male and female. There are cultures where there is a recognition of other genders. There are cultures where there is a recognition of a combined male and female gender. So you have people who have, traits of both male and, female. So there are a lot of cultures where there is a serious inquiry into gender binaries, and there is a serious challenge to gender binaries. So some cultures, like for instance in India, even today, in spite of, there's been movements to recognize LGBTQ rights, there's been a movement to recognize people who don't fall into, either or category, but still there is a huge push towards identifying in terms of binary categories, either as male or female, even today in India. So as soon as a child is born, there is this, inquiry that parents and relatives make to the doctor, that what is the child, is the baby a male or a female. But there are cultures where that is not something that is expected. There are cultures where it is accepted that you may not be fully male or you may not be fully female. You could be both. Now, we also move into questions of masculinity and femininity, which are questions of gender, because as I said, sex and gender are different, although both are performative. Sex is something that is physiological. So a lot of times people may think that, sex is natural. Well, our sexual identities are also social identities because, what constitutes as sexual identity is also defined by the medical profession, is defined by the knowledge that has been handed down over centuries. So if you read Judith Butler, then you'll see how she has challenged the very idea of even sexual identity as something which is natural. She says, no, like gender identity, sexual identity can also be challenged. And it is true today, because if you look at surgeries, you'll see that people are changing their sexual identities. So from a man, somebody becomes a woman, somebody goes through sex reassignment surgery and becomes a man. So all of these ideas in today's time have been challenged, that, these are fixed ideas. That if you're born a male, you will remain a male all your life, etc., etc. But let's not get into all that currently. What we need to do is to understand what are performative aspects of gender. So you've got masculinity, you've got femininity. So the social definition of maleness is masculinity, and that could vary from society to society. For instance, in some society, a male person would show masculinity in terms of holding a gun or being very violent. Now that could be a social definition of masculinity. On the other hand, there could be some societies where a gentle, kind man who looks after the children, does a lot of household work, could also be seen as very masculine. It depends on what kind of definition is the society that we live in accords to masculinity. So in our society, for instance, in Indian society, it is usually seen that the man is more comfortable going out of the house, working, not really involved in household duties, looking after children, looking after infants. For instance, it's a woman's job to look after what's being cooked and what will be cooked and what will be served, whether the laundry will be done today or what vegetables will be brought from the shop, etc. So our definition of masculinity and femininity is completely social and cultural. It is relative. It varies from society to society. And you can think of all these examples all the time, that when woman does not want to really enter the kitchen and is not interested in cooking, she's berated, and she's the parents, relatives, and even a larger society would say that, what kind of a woman is she? She needs to learn cooking because that is going to be her realm of her service to the family, or that will be the duty that she'll perform once she's once she has a family of her own, or she gets married and goes to her husband's family. She has to learn to cook. So these are definitions of femininity that we regularly come across, and the whole idea of challenging such gender norms which define masculinity and femininity is something that feminists have been doing throughout generations. And today's women also constantly challenge these gender definitions of masculinity and femininity. There are a lot of men who love cooking. There are a lot of men who would want to stay at home and look after the family, but they would be termed as effeminate. They would be termed as less masculine. It would be an attack on their maleness. So in spite of, they really wanting to be at home, taking care of the children or going and cooking, they are stopped by society, by families, which say that, no, this is not very, masculine. You have to be a man. And in order to be a man, you have to be aggressive. You have to be, working outside of the home. You have to go out and earn your daily bread and look after your family, etc., etc. So you can just come up with these examples over and over again. Now look at this image. You've got an image of an atypical, this is an atypical image of femininity. Not really sits very well when it comes to the idea of a girl child. So you've got a 9-year-old girl from Vermont in camouflage who is being taught to hunt black bear with her own, 20 gauge shotgun. And this is certainly an atypical definition of femininity. You don't see this kind of image often. What you see is a 9-year-old girl probably playing with a doll, or wearing some kind of a very frilly frock with flowers, and sitting at home, playing with her toys, etc., or sitting and drawing something. You really don't see an image like this. So this is a very, very atypical, typical image of femininity, and there is no moral judgment about this image. There are lots of problems with this image too, with in terms of violence to animals, for instance, hunting a bear or putting a gun in a girl's hand. But what the image clearly shows is that femininity can be of many kinds. And although we are used to certain kinds of images, there are ways in which femininity can also be challenged. Those images can also be challenged. Now, look at gender identity. Here is an image of a person. We living in Mumbai. We all of us are aware of eunuchs, and they're called hijras. We see them on the trains. If you're traveling by train, you will see them coming into the compartments begging. But have you ever thought of what kind of gender identity does people who don't fall into the category of male or female really, construct themselves as? What is their identity? So this person, for instance, is a man, probably has male sexual organs or is castrated male, but performs the identity of a woman. So he or she presents, the body as a woman's body. And it's an excellent example of how gender is not natural. Gender is not fixed. Gender is a socially constructed image of who we are. So what you see is a man who is presenting himself as a woman, and which then brings us to the problematics of fixed ideas of gender. That gender is not fixed. We all are on a spectrum. So if gender is a spectrum from scale 1 or 0 to 10, you could be anywhere between 0 to 10. You could be extremely feminine, for instance, and be a 9 or a 10, or you could be somewhere in the middle where you do have attributes which are socially considered as masculine. So you wear pants, you wear, your hair is short, you like playing, football, you like hanging out with friends, you like going out to pubs, etc., etc. So things that are generally considered as a very male thing to do. For instance, also working very hard to for a career. So for instance, if you are on that spectrum, you may be a 7 or 8 in terms of ambition, in terms of career choice. So you don't want to really be working, say, in a very female-oriented profession, which are called pink-collared profession, for instance, nursing. You want to be, say, for instance, a person in the army. You want to, join the army, which again is a bit of a problem. But you could be a woman who does not like cooking, who wants to, work in a bank at the top level and wants to be a CEO. So all of these things can put us on the spectrum anywhere. There could be a man, as I said, I gave example, who does not want all that, who wants to be at home. So that person may also be on a spectrum, which is say 2 or 3, not really identifies with all that is considered as very male. So just to reiterate, gender refers to cultural ideas, and this is how we perceive, and evaluate, judge, measure each other, and what kind of expectations in terms of behavior, a male and a female is expected to behave. What are those expectations? So we move from what is the idea of gender and how it's socially constructed to also gender roles, which are also socially constructed. And we must remember that just because I'm a woman doesn't mean that I would like to work in the kitchen all my, life, that I'm going to be slogging and just cooking for the family. Now that role that has been assigned to women is also a social role. It has been socially constructed that women have to look after the house. Now this is not something natural. It has a historical basis, because there were reasons why women were pushed into the household inside in the cloister, while men took charge of things outside. There are sociological reasons for that, but you should understand that This is not natural. This is not something fixed. It can be changed. Now, what is the traditional understanding of gender roles? There's only, only 2 or 3 ways in which we are different from men. As women, we are different from men in some ways, but we are not so different. Now, what are the ways in which we are different? So as a woman, when I speak as a woman, I know that my body mass is not equal to, say, a man who's my age. It's definitely not equal. Men have more body mass, so they are physically stronger and are better equipped for, say, things like hunting, warfare, land clearing. I'm talking about traditional roles. Why were men sent out and why did women go in? So men were sent out because they had more strength, physical strength, and that is undeniable. They have more muscles and more body mass. So therefore, there were certain kinds of things that they were better at. For instance, hunting, for instance, warfare. So in traditional societies, in medieval societies, men actually went to the fields to engage in war, and it was high physical contact, affair. Men also did a lot of tilling and digging. It's not to say that women can't do it, but probably because men have more physical strength. So a man can, say, dig up 5 acres of land in 5 days, while a woman will dig up 5 acres of land in, say, 2 days. That's where the difference lies. And women also were sent inside the houses because they got pregnant. And once you get pregnant, obviously your body changes and you have to lactate. You have to nurse your infant. So for these reasons, women were sent back into the house. There were things that they had to do which a man couldn't do. So there was a segregation of roles at that very point in time when women became pregnant, became mothers of infants. So breastfeeding, for instance, pregnancy, these were compatible with not just, a sheltered and more, I would say, not hyperactive physical, tasks, but they became compatible with child care and also looking after the house. Now, again, there is an image of an image that challenges traditional gender roles. So what you have here is a baseball player in the locker room feeding his baby, feeding his infant. Now, again, an atypical image of, breaking the wall of gender roles. Moving on, we also then see, how do we understand these gender roles? How do they come to be? Why is it that suddenly at a certain point in time in history, women became primary child carers, primary caregivers to not just children but also to elders in the house? When did women become people who learned to cook for the family and also to feed the family? When did it be, when or how did men start becoming people who had to go out and work for the family or had to fight wars? So we see that all these ideas that we have today of masculinity, femininity, gender roles, what is to be a man, what is it to be a woman, comes through these agents. Now, who are the agents? Look at the agents of socialization. The first place where you learn to behave yourself as a man or as a woman, which you later will be, so as a girl or a boy, is the family. That's the very first place. Families teach you how to behave. I remember when we were in school, went to a all-girls convent school, our teachers always used to tell us how to sit. Our teachers would always tell us how to speak. Our teachers used to tell us, what we should do if we engage with, a stranger. So things were being taught to us, and things were being taught in a way that we would be proper girls or proper women when we grow up. And similarly, the same things were being taught to boys, that this is how you should behave. So who are the agents of socialization? Families, schools, community, state, law, religion, all of these. So we are taught from our birth to display proper gender behavior. So if you are identified as a woman, as a girl child, then you have to display certain kinds of behavior. And if you're identified as a male child, you have to display certain kinds of behavior. Now, a little boy wants to play with, say, her sister's toys, wants to play with her sister's friends, or wants to, wear makeup, or, wants to dress up like her sister does. Now, imagine what the boy is going to be, faced with: bullying at school. he will be bullied at home, he will be punished. And we have seen a lot of nowadays, a lot of films also are, talking about it. So you must have come across several, um, you know, um, I would say films and stories where the suffering and the trauma of not fitting into proper expected gender behavior or gender roles mean. So look at the slide. It says that failure to comply often results in sanctions. So sanctions means punishment, withholding of something. So today, if you behave badly, if you behave like a boy, you've stayed out, say till 8 o'clock, when your brother's allowed to stay out till 9 o'clock, but you have to come home by, sunset. And if you stay out, then how will the sanctions work? Your parents will punish you by, say, for instance, saying that today we will not, give you dinner. That's your punishment. So that's called sanctions. Now, if you come back home at the right time and you always obey and you're doing things that are expected of you as a girl child or as a boy child, you will be rewarded. So she's a good girl, she's a good boy, he's a good boy. They both, are obedient. They follow rules. They follow everything that's being told to them. So they will be, so that there's compliance to gender roles, gender expectations. You will be rewarded and you will be celebrated as a good, child, as a good girl. Oh, she's a good girl, or she's a good boy, he's a good boy, those kind of things. We all understand, that these things have happened to us, and these are experiences that all of us have. So gender socialization is the process by which, people learn cultural norms, attitudes, behaviors. We basically become women, right, through gender socialization, and become men. So, and they operate at 3 levels: micro, meso, and macro levels. Now, meso is also known as meso, which I've shown in the next slide. But remember that there are 3 levels of operation when it comes to understanding and projecting ourselves as either male or female, or maybe neither. Now, look at the levels of social interaction. You've got micro, you've got meso or meso, and macro. Now, micro is the smallest unit of interaction where one person speaks to the other person. So, say, for instance, a mother speaking to the son, or, one-on-one interaction between a couple or friends. And the agent, micro agent, is a family. So, the family is the first agent of socialization in terms of micro levels of interaction. The second, or counseling, for instance, counseling sessions. That also constitutes micro level. We move on to the meso or meso level. We have interaction among groups. So we've got, workplace, group behavior. We've got schools, colleges, gangs, for instance, clubs. All these interactions between group members would come under meso or meso. Now, who are the agents? Who are the agents of meso levels of interaction? There would be corporations, offices, educational organizations, state media, police, and religion. And macro would be the broadest unit of interaction, where you're looking at a global or, national or regional level interactions between people who decide how you will behave, what are the appropriate behavior signals, how should you present yourself, project yourself. And who are the agents is law, science, defense, medicine, and culture. So what you have here is just 3 different levels in which these socialization processes take place. Social forces, interesting topic of discussion when it comes to young people who are looking for a job, who will be entering the workforce. Particularly for women, it's a world where there's a lot of discrimination. And we have to agree that women still face enormous discrimination at the workplace. The first thing to note would be glass ceiling. A lot of women, know that there are positions higher up, but they can't reach it. So why is it called a glass ceiling? Because number one, you can't see the ceiling. You know that that's not the end. You can go up, but you also can't see what's there. You can't see what is up and above, because it's a glass ceiling. It just goes on and on. You really can't see. If it's a transparent glass and you can see where the top is, that's a different thing. But if it's a opaque glass structure, you can't really see what's on top, but you know that this is not the top. There is something beyond the glass ceiling. So basically, in other words, this metaphor is used to talk about social forces that keep women from reaching the highest levels of corporate and public responsibility. So if you do a research, and a lot of research has already been done on the top positions, administrative positions in big industries, in the corporate sector, at the government level, largely 80 to 90% of those positions are occupied by men, not by women. What we have is they throw examples at us, like one or two women, or maybe 1% of women who have reached the top. They become big examples that, okay, wow, see, there's that woman who's the CEO of so and so company. All right. So in our college, we have a female principal. So there in education, we have lots of women at the top position. But can we say the same of, say, IT industry? Can we say the same of, say, in the space, space and scientific research industries? We can't. Medicine, for instance. There may be a lot of nurses who are women, but do we have the equal number of doctors who are women, or do we have equal number of, say, directors of big hospitals who are women? So what is happening here is women can be women are allowed to work today. Allowed, I'm using the term very consciously because a lot of families don't even do that. They say, no, you can't work after marriage, or they kind of take it as a badge of honor, saying that I'm allowing my wife to work, etc., etc. So the point is, a lot of women are working. They are in the both informal as well as formal sector, although it's only 5% in our country. 5% of women are in the formal sectors, most are in the informal sector, and largely women are still at home. But those who are working also realize that they can't reach the top so easily. That position's gone. That position's reserved for a man. And that's where the glass ceiling effect comes in. Then you have sticky flow. So social forces that keep large number of women stuck in very low paid jobs. So you'll see at the sweatshop level. Now, if you buy clothes, for instance, from a very, very expensive brand like Marks and Spencer. Now, the shirt, for instance, that I'm wearing must have been made in some sweatshop, right? I picked it up from some shopping mall or an online store, and it's a branded shirt, for instance. Now, this brand, which is minting money and making a whole lot of profit by passing on the charges to me. So if I'm paying 1,000 rupees for a shirt, this particular brand has actually made this shirt, got this shirt produced in a sweatshop in Bangladesh, or in India, or in some third world, some developing, country, some factory in developing country, a sweatshop factory, where 99% of the workers are women. They are the ones who are stitching these shirts at less than minimum wage. But the corporations or the company that's putting the brand or the logo on the shirt is charging 1,000 rupees per shirt and paying, for instance, 10 rupees per hour to the women who are sitting and stitching these shirts. Now, let me tell you, that's sticky floor. Large number of women are working at very low paid jobs. Another good example would be many of you must have visited hotels, stayed in hotels. You'll see most of the people who are working in the hotels as janitors are women, cleaning the toilets. Go to the airport. Most of the people who are cleaning toilets are women. Most of the janitors, housekeeping, people who do housekeeping would be women. So these are social forces that keep women in low paid jobs. It's called the sticky floor syndrome. And finally, you have glass escalator.
Jalija ma'am.
Who's this? Okay, so finally we have glass escalator, which is a Christina L. Williams term, 1992 term. She used it in one of her articles, which said that there are many men who don't really want to be stuck in these jobs, these, pink collared jobs, which are primarily for women. But these are men who really, they get promoted very easily, and they are men who reach the top position in pink collared professions. For instance, in nursing, social work, library, teaching, etc. Now, this kind of glass escalator effect is where you have You have to understand that these are all, this is also defined by class, by race, by sexuality. So heterosexual white men, for instance, also in India, it would be upper caste men and upper class men who would rise to the top far more easily and quickly than, say, a Black person in the United States, or a person of color in the West, or a lower caste person, maybe, you know, in our setting. So these are very, very complex questions of who rises to the top. But it would suffice to know that if you have the privilege of caste, if you have the privilege of class, if you are in the right, if you're a man who has the right caste and the right class, and say, for instance, the right race in the global north, your chances of success would be far more than, say, a Black person's chance for success, or say, a large number of people who come from underprivileged classes or castes. So we'll have to think about these things carefully. Nothing is black and white. Everything is very gray, and it's extremely complex. I am going to now, since I don't have much time, I will move on to this. So discrimination against LGBTQ people. We all know, all of you are young people who have, who are struggling with your identities as who you want to be, how you project yourself. And there may be several people who are, who find it very confusing as to, who they are. And as we grow older, we become more and more confident about what kind of gender identity I have and how would I present myself. But today, we as a nation, we know we have decriminalized homosexuality. There are people who don't identify either as, male or female. They fall in the transgender category. There are many who are not heterosexual. There are, there's no shame anymore attached in terms of legal framework, but there's a huge social stigma still when it comes to homosexuality. So you see there's large scale homophobia. People really still look down and are not very comfortable with the idea of homosexuality. But we as people who want to see a nation, we want to see our nation progress and take everybody along, and nobody is left out and nobody is discriminated against. These are very important, legal measures of equality for us. And what is important is socially also, we should realize that people have non-binary, identities. Not all people fall in the category of male or female. And it is very important for us to recognize that and respect people's choice of gender identity. So I am going to move on and probably, talk about gender discrimination. There are two ways in which one can talk about gender discrimination: de jure and de facto. De jure is where there is legal gender discrimination and is done deliberately to feed in, and it feeds into the cultural images of women being inferior and weaker. So that's de jure, which is done legally. So for instance, there could be a legal, there could be a law against abortion, which has happened in the US. I'm sure some of you who are interested in world affairs would know that Roe versus Wade, which was one of the most important laws to allow abortion rights to women, was overturned few years back in the US. And now the states have the right to control women's reproduction, and reproductive rights are now under the state law, under the control of the state. So that's de jure discrimination, where you take away rights or you deliberately discriminate against somebody. So women have an agency and right over their own bodies. They should be able to decide what they should do with their bodies. So when the state comes in with laws which takes away those rights, then there is de jure discrimination. So abortion rights, when it was overturned in the US under the and it was done legally, that was de jure discrimination. De facto discrimination would be unequal treatment that is unintended or customary. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. So, for instance, two people have applied for a job, okay, equally qualified. One is a young man of, say, 30 years old, and another is a young woman of 30. Both are absolutely equal when it comes to qualifications and experience and everything. Now, the choice was made. And this is a real case I'm talking about. This happened. And I'm not, and if you go and read up, cases that are quite well known in legal history, the Air India case, for instance, where the company chose the man over the woman because the projection was that the woman is 30 years old. She will probably either get married. Oh, she was married. Yes, she was married and pregnant. That was the only difference. Yes, she was married and pregnant when she was applying for a job, and everything was equal. So, all things being equal, she was not taken in. And the reason given was that because she's pregnant, she will be not a good fit for the company because she'll go on maternity leave. And the company does not want to spend on getting somebody else during her maternity leave. Now, that was de facto discrimination. So that was unequal treatment, which was unintended maybe, but it was customary. It's something that was done to her, and that's called de facto discrimination. So we move on and let us see how gender stereotyping works. Now, what are gender stereotypes? Most of us have given into some forms of, stereotype. We have assumed that people have certain characteristic features on the basis of our very, very limited experiences. Now, remember, stereotypes are always incorrect, because stereotyping is false understanding of a group of people on the basis of very limited experience, maybe of one or two people, or no experience at all. So it's a preconceived notion of someone based upon their gender. That's gender stereotype. And these often lead to prejudices. And prejudices, bias can interfere with our reasoning. So what are the types and what are the examples? Look at the types. So you've got personality. Men and women would have different personalities. So what are the examples? So what are the stereotypes about women? Caregivers, passive, quitters, weak, can't drive, for instance. Women are bad drivers. Women are too emotional. They cry all the time. They get their work done by crying, etc., etc. Domestic life. What would domestic life examples be? How women are in the house, what is the expectation of women in the house, and what are the expectations of men in the house. Now, two people, maybe a couple, let's say, take an example, a couple goes to work, both are earning their keep. When the man comes back home, he comes back, he leaves his, he goes, takes a shower, freshens up and sits in front of the television. The woman comes back home. The first thing she does is she checks if the children have come back from the creche, or she checks if, the maid has come, what vegetables will be cooked today, what will be there for dinner. Is the man being served tea, etc., etc. So it's completely different. The expectations from a woman would be different from the expectations from a man. Occupation. Some professions are, as I said, are pink collared, assuming that, you will go as a woman into that profession. Teaching, for instance, large number of women are teachers, but very few women, as I told you, are at the UGC level. You would have mostly men who are taking decisions on higher education. So the stereotype is that there are some occupations where men are better. For instance, science education. Oh, men are very good in science. Men are good at maths. So very few women, you see very few women in science, although that's changing. So you have more and more women in science, which goes to prove that there is nothing as, women can't do science. And physical, assuming women and men should dress in certain ways. So all of that, are gender stereotypes. So what are the stereotypes about men? Men are unemotional, they're very aggressive, they're violent, they're natural leaders, good in maths. Boys will be men, boys will be boys. They should be excused for, certain things they do. They can have a bit of fun. And they'll be doctors and engineers, and women will be nurses. So these are the stereotypes. So what's the result of, or what's the fallout of stereotypes? Now you see what happens if you give into stereotypes. For men, there's guilt, there's anxiety, there's early death. Men are burdened by the stereotypes that society has imposed on them. They have to work hard. They have to make sure that, everybody in the family is looked after. They have to pretend that they are not suffering. They have to pretend that they are not breaking up from inside. So they're very hurt. Somebody's hurt them. They're suffering, but they can't cry because that will be indicative of loss of masculinity. On the other hand, women may not be very emotional. They may be very, very ambitious, and they don't really care much about, looking after the kitchen and, stuff. So that they have to hide because they also have to project that they are good women. So for women, again, the standards of beauty, which is exceptionally, high. All women must look good, because if they don't look good, they have no chance at life. So beauty, for instance, standards of beauty, impossible standards of beauty really make women clinically depressed. Young women, for instance, like you, first year women, 18-year-old women, you have to constantly, the media images are flooding into your Instagram, into your social media, or in your phone, showing you impossible images of beauty, which are all basically artificial. They are made through enhancement, through surgeries, but these are images that are fed, fair, being fair. For instance, dark-skinned women, they suffer from a serious sense of, guilt, poor self-image. That I'm dark. What's going to happen to me? Nobody's going to like me. I'll never get a date. I'm not going to be able to have a romantic relationship with anybody. What are my chances at romance? And you have these stupid ideas of, ideal romance constantly fed into your head. So all these are really, rigid fallouts of stereotypes. Now, I will now rush through images because we're almost coming to an end. So today, 21st century, women and men both must challenge gender roles. You must prove that gender roles are socially constructed, and anybody can, if they put their mind and heart together, can, achieve success in something they have chosen to do. It may not be traditional. So you've got female firefighter, you've got, in the US, there are 20% of preschoolers who are cared for by single parents, single fathers, or just fathers. So you have to get out of stratification, or, where there are hierarchies of gender, and you're ranked according to your gender. That has to be challenged. Any kind of stratified place is a dangerous place because it reinforces stereotypes and it reinforces segregation and separation. The more men and women come together and understand each other as people, the better for us. The better our relationships will be better. We will have more caring and loving men, and we'll have, women who can recognize that there is a possibility for them to realize their ambitions. So we don't need stratification. What we need is, we need inclusion. We don't need exclusion. So what is gender equality? Where both have equal say in decision making, where both are cooperating with each other, and they both share tasks equally, not divided according to gender. Now, gender in education, we all know that it's more likely that a male child will go to school in a poor family and a female child will be left behind. So a picture here shows that it's more likely that the brother will go to school than the younger sister. If you are in a poor family, then the parents will make a choice as to who we should send to school. So there is a feminization of poverty. More women are poorer than men because the school dropouts, they don't get to finish their education, or they're in very, very low paying jobs. Or if their husband dies and they've never worked, then they're just left destitute. And all of this is because of gender ideology, which is a system that legitimize gender roles, statutes, and customary behavior. It's a system of thoughts. And for us, as teachers, as students, the first thing we do is we break through this ideology. We challenge this ideology, and we ensure that both men and women have equal chances. So we move on, and I will probably, now end. Let me just finally, talk about violence against women. Physical violence is on the rise. Even though there are strict laws, there have always been violence against women, and it continues to be a problem in the world. The images of a white woman in, say, the global north, who also is an equal victim of battery, of domestic violence, of rape, femicide. In Argentina, for instance, there has been a rise in killing of women simply because they are women. So that's called femicide. Moving on. Let's just end by looking at some images where we break the stereotype. It is not, you don't have to believe that women are all, very calm and quiet and they are not capable of violence. They are not capable of criminal activities and they can't be, they can be as bad as men. They can be as, for instance, violent as men. The idea is that gender is a construct and anybody can slide downwards or progress. So 1/3 of Colombian rebel soldiers are female. So which means they are using guns, they are using guerrilla tactics, and they are also capable of killing people, which means that the gender stereotype of men being violent and women being, passive does not hold true. Both are equally capable of taking up arms. I will just add as a rejoinder that there's been a movement in India, for instance, where a lot of women have been fighting to get into the Indian army, saying that we're capable of, holding, shooting. We're capable of wielding guns. As a pacifist, I'm a pacifist, so I do not, I do not wish that people get into wars or people have conflicts, armed conflicts. In my world, there would be no war and no conflict, and nobody would take up guns. But in order to make you understand how socialization works and how gender works, it is important for you to see these images also, that men and women are equally capable of being, violent. And so our idea is to end violence and not see guns in anybody's hand. So how do we bring gender equity? These are the 7 ways in which we can do that. One is to give education, equal access to education. And sometimes we have to promote female education because women have been left out of higher education, for instance. They are school dropouts mostly. And the rest of them also are very important. We have to empower women in the workplace. We have to make workplace safe for women. We have to protect reproductive rights. Women should have the right to decide when they will have a child, when they will become mothers. Nobody else should have the right to decide. The final decision should be hers. And we have to strengthen legal protections. We have to provide better medical care for women. And we have to achieve political representation, which means there should be more women taking decisions about what is to be done when it comes to women's lives as well as, social structures. And we have to prioritize the most marginalized, which means the poorest of the poor women who are extremely, who are destitute, who are living on the streets, for instance, who are out of all kinds of, social, I would say, formal structures must be prioritized. Tribal women, for instance, Dalit women, minority women, street women on the streets, women in asylums. These are most marginalized. They are the ones who should be prioritized. So I would just show you a few images that, people who say that women are not very good in sports. She played the football. She raised her child as a single mother. You've got a victim of acid attack who now is an activist and has survived violence. You've got a woman who does direct stunts. You've got a woman who has driven on a bike length and breadth of India. And male identity. I mean, this is a challenge to gender roles, that fathers can be equally caring, men can be equally caring and equally gentle and kind if given a chance. So our idea is to ensure that we don't give into gender stereotypes because it damages both men and women. What we should project is that we raise our levels of understanding. We give equal access to women. We promote, we support women when they want to study, when they want to have a career, and we promote humanity over everything else. So yes, these are the ways in which we can, please mute yourself. These are the ways in which we can empower and protect women from sliding downwards and getting out of the formal sector in terms of education as well as empowerment. This is finished. There is nothing more to say. One thing that I want to finish my lecture with is the role of IC. And please remember, the college has an internal committee. Now, internal committee is for female students female teachers, female staff who work in this college. If there is any case of sexual harassment that you feel somebody is, harassing you, somebody has made some obscene gestures, it could be remark, it could be touch, it could be anything that makes you uncomfortable. The IC committee, of which I am the presiding officer, will be taking up complaints and will conduct an inquiry. Now, if you go to the HR college website, you will see the internal complaints committee details put up. If there is any complaint that any student has to make in terms of any experience of sexual harassment at workplace, which is in the college, or if there is anything that's happening outside of the college related to, say, somebody who is from the college, you will have to bring it to our notice, and an inquiry will be conducted, and we will be trying to make sure that this space is a safe space for all our female students. Thank you very much. I'd like to end with that.
That entire session was so insightful and really helped in getting in the depths of decoding the gender. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your wise words of wisdom with us today. And I'd like to say a thing about when you spoke about gender. I suddenly remembered the Kinder Joy that it comes. So earlier it used to come in a unisex, like everyone can have it, and now it's like in girls and boys, and the girl is always blue. Sorry, the girl is always in pink, and the boy is always in blue. So I bought both of those, and I opened it. So the girl came in. The girl had a Barbie, and the boy had a car or something. So girl
Yeah,
had
so
an
gender stereotype again, promoting
exactly.
these kind of ideas that, and it's linked to, you think about it, women are bad drivers. It's always been told to us. And when I used to drive on the road, I used to remember how aggressive the men used to be when they used to drive next to me. They would honk, they would try to, sort of overtake me, because they know that it's a woman behind the wheels. So there's always this idea that women are bad drivers, or they just can't drive. We have to, sort of push them out of the way.
Yeah.
So somebody has said would love to listen to you offline. I hope we can meet you. Of course, you'll meet me. I'll be teaching you from Monday. So I'll be more than glad to, talk to the students, have an offline session like this if students have really, benefited from it. And remember IC. Any case of sexual harassment, it has to come to IC. Please remember, this place is a safe place. We will not tolerate any abuse. Thank you so much. I think I've said enough. Now, next person will come in. So once again, I'm very, very happy to have had this session with you, and I'm looking forward to meeting all our young students from Monday. So shall I just leave? What is it to be done? What do I have to do? Just leave? Twisha?
Yes.
I just have to leave?
Yes, ma'am, it's okay, ma'am, because we have another session.
Yeah, so I'm just leaving. Now, I haven't read all the chat, so I'll continue. You continue with your next session. I'll just read the chats and then I'll leave. Okay?
Sure, ma'am. Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Everyone is requested to please stay back as we have another session right now itself. So please do not leave. Thank you.
Good morning to all the students. I'm delighted to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Nidhi Thanawala. Dr. Nidhi Thanawala is a distinguished therapist with extensive experience across private and corporate sectors. With over 17 years as a respected professor, she has profoundly influenced academia by shaping minds and making significant contributions to her field. A prominent speaker at national and international conferences, Dr. Thanawala brings her expertise to diverse audiences. Her involvement as a participant at Harvard Model United Nations underscores her global perspective. Additionally, she contributes to the realm of media and entertainment as a clinical psychologist associated with UTV and films. Notably, her role on the recruitment board of HPCL reflects her commitment to enhancing organizational dynamics through psychology and leadership. I would now like to invite Dr. Nidhi Thanawala to share insights on application of psychology in everyday life.
Yeah, Nidhi ma'am will join in next 5 minutes. Please wait. Nidhi, you can start.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm assuming you can see me also because I can see. Hi, Tusha. So nice to see you.
Nidhi, we can start. Your introduction was already over, Nidhi.
Uh, Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Nidhi Thanawala, and I am extremely happy to have this opportunity to address all of you today. I would like to once again welcome you to HR College and the bright future that awaits you here. All of us are extremely excited to have you in our classes, and I am extra happy that we are going to have this session here today. So what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to get this PowerPoint started. Let me know if you can see it. While I do that, there is something that I want to know from all of you, that when you heard that there is going to be a session on psychology, what was your first reaction? What did you think would be covered in the session? Or what were you hoping would be done when we talk about applications of psychology in our everyday life? And this is going to be an interactive session, and I'm really hoping that all of you will interact. So please make sure that you can put it in the chat box, or I don't know how much unmuting you'll be able to do, but yes, putting it in a chat box would be ideal. You can put it as a public comment, or you can put it as a private DM to me. Somebody saying understanding human behavior. Well, that's nice. That is something that I have planned. Anything else that you thought of? I'm assuming that some of you would have studied psychology by now, the art students perhaps, and you would have a little bit of background knowledge, so that is totally not required. All right, so let me quickly read these. Talk about human emotions, feeling, time management, stress management, how to understand the person's nature. Something related to mental health, web, sure. So here is the PowerPoint. This is how excited I am, and I'm assuming you are. And let me tell you that psychology deals with a lot of things. As a psychologist, I have been practicing as a therapist for a little over 14 years now. And one of the things that the psychology teachers or therapists keep getting asked again and again is, can you read mind? Can you figure out things about other people based on what they are? And to a certain extent, that is true. But in order to understand those cues, we need to be really, really observant. So let's say, how many of you like murder mysteries or solving crimes or watching these crime dramas or reading those books? There are a few questions also here, a very interesting question on autism. There would be a small break that we would take in the session, and I will address all the question and answers in the break, and of course, towards the end as well. By a quick show of hands, you can tell me how many people here like murder mysteries? Or you like solving crime? There are like 10 of us out of 300. All right, quite a few. So what we are going to do next is something which is for you, right? Please let me know if you can see this. Okay, I'm assuming you can see it and hear it. Let's solve this murder together.
Ma'am, cannot hear it.
Okay, well, let me share the audio as well. One second.
Clearly, somebody in this room murdered Lord Smythe, who, at precisely 3:34 this afternoon, was brutally bludgeoned to death with a blunt instrument. I want each of you to tell me your whereabouts at precisely the time that this dastardly deed took place.
With him.
I was polishing the brass in the master bedroom.
I was buttering his lordship's scones below stairs, sir.
Why, I was planting my petunias in the potting shed.
Constable, arrest Lady Smythe.
But how did you know?
Madam, as any horticulturist will tell you, one does not plant petunias until May is out. Take her away.
Sorry, madam.
It's just a matter of observation. The real question is, how observant were you?
Now, those of you who are observant, you may have noticed something. Let's not look at it one more time. I can share this link, but let's see what really happened.
Action. Clearly, somebody in this room murdered Lord Smythe, who, at precisely 3:34 this afternoon, was brutally bludgeoned to death with a blunt instrument. I want each of you to tell me your whereabouts at precisely the time that this dastardly deed took place.
I was polishing the brass in the master bedroom.
I was buttering his lordship's scones below stairs, sir.
Why, I was planting my petunias in the potting shed.
Constable, arrest Lady Smythe.
So let me ask you something. How do you think this really happens when we are watching something with all our focus on it, assuming that we are supposed to solve a riddle here or solve a problem here? Yet we miss practically everything changed in the background. Has that ever happened that you were surprised that how did you miss something which was important, something that was relevant? Either you can do a simple show of hand. Yes, quite a few people are saying that. This in psychology is called something as change blindness. Let me give you a positive example for change blindness. Think of your best friend, the best friend that you have. So how did he do this? Change blindness. Think of the time that you met this best friend for the first time, right? You would practically remember it very clearly, what they were doing, what you were doing. Yeah, there's too many notifications. But like I say, good friendship is like a dream. You don't know how it began, where it started from. There may be so many interactions that you had with this friend, and you don't know when you became best friends. So something changed practically every day or on a periodic interval, but you didn't realize that change. This is pretty much like, those WhatsApp forwards that we get on family groups, that day by day, nothing changes. When you look back, everything is different. If those of you who like Jurassic Park, you must be children or not even born when the first movie came out, but they say that some dinosaurs can't see things that are moving, right? So similarly, for us, there are so many things that are changing that we don't know. You all are very young right now. The more you grow, the more you will experience change. And the more you will realize that you will not notice it unless that change is drastic. It could also be your grandparents getting older, something that they were doing very easily at some point of time, but not so easily later. Because in our head, in our memory, they are always fitter, right? So this is something for you to maybe take on, to think about what is it that where things are changing. And it's not just about the outside environment. It is also something which is about your own self. How have you changed over the years where you have not realized it? It could be it could be for better, or you think that you've gotten a little short tempered, or you've gotten a little lazy, things that you used to do easily at one point of time, and you are not able to do it that easily earlier. Okay? Now on. And that easy thing cannot be algebra, because of course that is also getting tougher. But when the outside element remains the same, but internally you don't deal with it the way that you used, right? Now, how people deal with things is also different because people are different. Every individual is different from the other one. They could be different in terms of their characteristics. It could be in terms of their preferences, their likes. This difference is something that we study extremely deeply. I personally teach it 5 to 6 times. In psychology, we read it in order to understand people different. In organizational behavior, we do it for managers to understand their employees better. In consumer behavior, we do it for marketers to understand their consumers better, that I have this one product, this one phone. How am I going to sell it to different people, saying that this is the phone for you and this is the phone that you should buy? In media planning, we do it to see how your audiences are different. So here there is a very small test for all of you. Please keep in mind that this is a pop psychology test and not like a real psychology test. But this is something, again, for this, we don't really need an audio. So all you have to do is you have to observe what is happening here. Pay attention to it, right? And based on it, you can tell me later what is the result that it reveals for you, and we'll see what it means. It is something on an absolutely superficial level, like just taking a dip on it. What you have to do is you have to observe in every frame, in every scene, there are going to be two scenarios. You pick the one which applies to you the most and keep a record of it. So either you keep counting A and B, or do it on a paper or something somewhere. Okay, so I hope everybody is ready. If you're not, I can give you like a minute, okay, to get ready. Make sure that you are ready here to count, to see. I'm assuming everyone is ready now. So here we go. All right. So here, the screen is also on. Please focus on the movement of the dancer and pick one alternative for yourself. And it can't wait to be till my mother makes it A. Like, which one do you prefer? We are more students than we don't take this. Okay. So see, look at your answers here. I can give you some time to tally it. Calculate if you got mostly A's or you got mostly B's. And here is what your answers mean. That those of you who got mostly A's are very likely to be left brain, and these are the characteristics that the people have: verbal, logical, structured, neat, analytical, good at languages, and imaginative. If you in total got mostly B's, then very likely you are right brain. Remember, this is a very quick box psychology video. Don't take it extremely seriously. This is something just for you to test and get to know about the basic. The real psychology tests take a very long period of time. They require a trained clinical psychologist or a counseling psychologist, mostly clinical psychologists, to get on the results, to interpret them. There are also lie scales. How many times did it happen that when it came to liking an art piece, you liked both of them, and it was difficult for you to determine which one did you like more? Okay? So because the real test, of course, would be more definitive. Right? Let's take an example here and tell me, and just so that you don't are thrown absolutely off the guard, I have given some options here. When are the times when you don't feel good about yourself? Initially, when we started the session, some of you said that emotional regulations or how to understand your own emotions is something that you expected out of the sessions. And I got very happy because that is something which was put in a part here. See, what happens is that people teach us a lot of things directly, indirectly. School teaches us manners, discipline, but somewhere, no one directly teaches us how to behave or how to feel. Let's take an example here. Assume that someone very close to you, a friend, has lost a loved one. Okay, now, you want to be there for your friend, but somewhere, what do? You make it your goal to make your friend unsad. Okay, you are there with the friend, you tell them that, okay, don't cry. You also tell your friend that don't feel bad, or I'm always here for you, or stop crying if the person is crying. We also reason out. You know, if the person was old, you said, oh, he lived a happy and old, good, fulfilled life. If the person has been in a hospital for a very long time, you would say things like, at least his misery is done with. But you don't know how to be sad with that person. We don't allow them for being sad for a very longer time. If somebody is struggling with any sort of failure, it could be not major failure in terms of a failed marriage or failing one entire, piling up a lot of ATKTs. It could be one of you are learning how to swim or how to cycle. And it's just not happening. You're not getting that confidence to do it. You try, and you do feel like a failure. Because we are talking about very simple things as well. You're trying to lose weight, you're trying to save money, you're trying to do any of these things, and it's not something which is working out. What would you do in this case, right? As a friend of that person, you don't know how to be with them or how to process those feelings. We always shut it out. Okay? Those of you who get angry, by a quick show of hand, how many of you think that you get more angry than usual people, or you get angrier a little quicker than other people, and you would like to know how to control it? Okay, so 6 or 7 honest people. I'm happy that the number is rising because I'm also in that category. Anger often is the second emotion. The first emotion is either sadness or it's helplessness. When do we get angry? When we are helpless, when there are a lot of other things that we can't do, or there are not, we do try a lot of things. When nothing is happening, that is when we get angry. Now, as quickly as you can anyone quickly share a time that they got angry? Or let's say somebody gets really angry because the phone is not working properly. You're trying to have an important conversation and it's not working, so you'll end up throwing the phone. Now, where your first response is not of throwing the phone. Your first response is moving around for a better network, adjusting your volume, disconnecting the call and trying again. It's a lot of those things. But when you can't do anything, there is a surge of feeling that you don't know how to deal with, and that is the reason you throw it around. So a lot of time when people are asked, when do you not feel good about themselves? These are one of the things that they talk about, that when I'm pressurized to do things that I don't want to do, or when I give in to any kind of addiction, it can be smoking, it can be drinking, it can be doomsday scrolling. Quick show of hand. How many people think that we are going to be online only for 5 minutes, look through 2 or 3 accounts to see few reels, and before you know it, you are on the bed scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and that 5 minutes is easily 55 minutes. You're like, what am I doing with my life? Okay? That itself is some sort of a habitual behavior. It may not be as strong of an addiction as a biological one, but it is addiction nonetheless. Or body image issues. All of us want to change one or two things about ourselves based on something that we see on the big screen or something that we see on the magazine. We wish we were a little taller or a little slimmer or few shades lighter. Or if I could just correct my face like we would do it with Photoshop, something you'll be learning very soon, you'd be able to do it. Right? How do we get rid of this? What can we do then to be happy? Right? So I'm going to talk about some very quick things. And I'm really hoping that just as I've helped a lot of my students and a lot of my clients, it will help you as well. Okay. I'm quickly going to share somebody who said that as an artist, I get sad and angry when I'm not able to match the art with what I imagine, something like this. So first of all, thank you so much for sharing this. This is something that a client of mine who used to be a student said that, things are awesome in my head, but when I try to project it outside of my head, not so awesome. It could be ideas. So in this case, there is an idea, something that you see extremely clearly when you close your eyes. But when it comes to putting it on paper, when it comes to putting it somewhere else, it doesn't come out the way that you want. What do? There is no control C, control V from your mind to the screen or to your canvas, right? So one of the things that really causes people to be unhappy or not at peace for a very long period of time is something that I call as milestone happiness. Imagine those milestones, half white, half yellow, Bombay 50 kilometers or Kulu, these many kilometers that you see on highways on most of the roads. This is how we live our life. What we tell ourselves is that I'm going to achieve this milestone. And see, the milestone is, you can see it's achievable, it's reachable. And then I'm going to be happy. And you work hard and you achieve that milestone. But the minute you achieve it, you don't celebrate. What do? You set your eyes on the next milestone. And then when you reach the next milestone, the one after that, the one after that, the one after that, and that celebration and that happiness never happens. You ask yourself, what next do I need to be happy? What should we do? The minute we achieve anything, regardless of how small it is, we must celebrate. And by celebrate, I don't mean go to Oberoi. Celebrate in the smallest manner you can. Like make Maggie and enjoy it. Have something nice. Spend some time with your friends. Anything and get wet in the rain. I mean, the season sort of calls for it. So any of those things that accounts for a small celebration for yourself, you do this, celebrate it, right? The greed of achieving milestone is just unstoppable. See, nobody is saying don't achieve those milestones. You run after this. Our life is a series of goals. There has to be some sort of progress. But what stops us is that we don't express gratitude on an everyday basis. Look at yourself right now. You may have everything that a younger self wanted to get into a good college, to get into a course that you always wanted. So make sure you celebrate that and then you enter into the college and make new goals for yourself. The times that you feel like a failure, you must be a winner. How do you be a winner? You win at the goals that you are setting for yourself. Even at this age, everybody must have at least 4 types of goals. Number one, you should have certain physical goals. Now, physical goals does not mean that you work out to get slimmer, but do work out to get fitter. It could be yoga, it could be running, it could be just going up and down the stairs, whatever works, or going to the gym or Pilates, whatever is available within your resources or whatever you like the most. But everyone must get fitter, right? And here, this also takes care of the next part, which is being healthy. You must eat on time. Eating right is a form of self-respect. If you don't respect yourself, only then will you put kachra in your own system. Once in a while, cheating is fine. But when you eat certain kind of food, which is heavy in sugar, heavy in salts, heavy in oil, you are not respecting your own self. Getting bubble baths or spending a lot on massages is not self-care. Self-care is setting boundaries, which brings us to the next goal, which are your social goals. Connecting with newer friends, getting a certain kind of social support. You are very lucky to be in a college like HR, where there are so many students, there are so many extracurricular, co-curricular activities that you can meet a variety of people. A lot. See, I'm not going to be, I've been teaching for 17 years, but I'm not going to be one of those teachers who would say, oh, youngsters, you have it so easy. Internet has spoiled you all. Hamare zamane mein we used to take prelims seriously. As a therapist and as a teen therapist, I know how difficult it is to be a college student these days. I know the kind of stress, I know the kind of pressures that you all would go through. Maybe the pressures that you don't know, the newer ones, because the more we grow, the more life changes. But even within that, we must practice gratitude. We must know that we need a good social support system. You will need more friends. One of the things that students go through is that they feel that nobody understands me. I mean, yes, there are some really good people around me, but I don't find those people that I can connect to. Everyone's just having so much fun. Why am I not having that much fun? Even if I do the activities that they are doing, what is it that I'm doing differently? Maybe I'm weird, right? Or there is this cool group of people. I'm not going to go and sit with them because they are not going to be friends with me. You will not know till you go and sit with them. It's not that they are avoiding you. They're just too busy in themselves, and maybe they are giving you your space because you always sit in a corner. A lot of students feel when the teachers are asking something, I need a volunteer to do this, or there is this. Sorry, I thought that was for me. So a lot of time, a lot of students believe that if the teacher looks at me or if she asks one more time, then I'll raise my hand. If there is something which is being asked, a teacher is not going to look at each and every person. Okay, if even if it is something like who would like to answer this question or who can tell me what this is. If you know it, it's a very difficult thing to do, but raise your hand. Okay. For some people, it's very easy. And I understand when it is difficult for some people, it is difficult. And this is how people are different, but do that. After the social goals, will come your financial goals. Financial goals does not mean that you start earning and you start making money, because that is not something which is possible for everybody. But you can always manage whatever finances you have better. You can always save money. Even if you feel like, array, we are getting into college and you're asking us to save money. There, I'm leaving this meeting right now. Please don't go. You want to spend money, you spend money, but you can also plan it and spend it in a way that you will maximize what you get out of that money. Right. And then there is something which is called as a happy list. So a happy list is something that I do where there is this huge broadcast I have on WhatsApp where there are these nice quotes, these funny memes which are shared on a regular basis, right? The idea is to be happy for 4 seconds, not even 5 seconds. Look at something, think about it, or look at something, laugh about it. It's very innocent, nothing political, nothing religious, just something which is funny. And it really eases people out. Okay? If you don't want to be, if a happy list is not something that is possible for you, mind to join, you can always create your own, or you could do something like what I do. WhatsApp has this one feature called as starring messages. And then you can go to starred messages and then chronologically all the messages are saved. I'm sure all of us know that. And usually people star messages of things that are important reminders or dates, etc. I have 17 groups on WhatsApp, which has only me for different things. But my star messages have everything which is cute, sweet, and positive. Most of them are Teachers' Day messages for students wishing me across the years, old students and new, or times that people have complimented me or said something nice, or sometimes just when a conversation is funny. So this friend of mine says that I have this wedding coming up in 6 months and I have to get in shape, and others like, yeah, 6 months is a good time. We'll go out and eat healthy, this, that. And then there's a friend that messages round is a shape. And I can imagine that friend saying that in a dramatic manner, you want to get in shape, round is a shape. Right? So I have started that and kept, because every time I'm feeling a little down or low, I go to that happy list, I go to those star messages, I read it, and I do feel better about it. Right? So happiness is not something which is this big thing where you have to take a lot of efforts or you have to spend a lot to do that. Okay? In the next segment, I want to show something which will deal with the whole time management aspect. A lot of our students are either doing internships or they are doing online courses. A lot of my clients who are working have one question when it comes to time. Where does my entire time go? The whole day I work, but what have I achieved? What do I have to show for it? So there is this, one thing that I would like to show you, something that has worked with a lot of clients. This is very simple. As a therapist, I have always worked on things where you don't have to spend a lot of money, where you don't have to get a lot of things. So this is super simple. All you need is a A4 sheet of paper and 6 Post-its, right? So I can't see myself here. I don't know how to do that. Maybe I can stop the share for a while. Where did I go now? Give me 1 second. So it is something that looks like this. Okay, I'm assuming everyone can see this. So this is an A4 sheet of paper, and there are 6 post-its on it. Each of them are labeled. The first one says call. The next one says text. Then there is one that says email, check, do, and the last one is kept blank. It can be treated as miscellaneous, or if your line of work is something that includes certain thing that will not be fit here. How does this work? Every day before going to sleep, you fill this up for the next day. When you take a mid-morning break, you ensure that you keep filling it. As the day progresses, you keep filling it. At the end of the day, you remove this post-it and you put it somewhere else. Next day, you take a new one and you paste it here. If you want, you can also use 6 different color post-its. But if you don't want to invest in 6 different post-its, that's totally fine. One will do. At the end of the week, you look at all the 5 or 6 one that's at call, and you see it, you analyze it, and that will answer this question: where does all your time go? And the answer, I'm telling you, would truly be something which is quite surprising, because your time will not go in one big task. It will go in a lot of chotu tasks. See, when you want to save your time, can you say, I'm not going to take a bath today? I mean, you can say it, don't say it, or I'm not going to eat today. No. What are you going to do? You are going to save the 2 minutes 20 times a day instead of not doing something that usually takes half an hour, which I'm assuming is also a must, right? So let me give you an example. During the lockdown, there were a lot of lectures that I had. The therapy practice was also something which was doing very well. And I had very little time, and I had a small baby to take care of, to do something that I truly love. And one of the things that I truly love is coloring, right? And I usually use color pencils and Vaselines and tissue papers and Q-tips and a lot of things and shade it well. And while I talk about this, maybe I can show you the few of the things that I've done. And shade it well and do all of those things. But what I realized is that I will not have the time to do it. So what can I do? I can just use felt pens, right? So there, and instead of the book, I started tearing out the papers. So while I do this, let me show it to you. I started tearing out the papers, right? And I kept it under the laptop. Every time the students would be like, we need 5 minutes. One lecture just got over. We need to eat. We need to go to the washroom. Like, okay, fine, don't cry. Take 10 minutes, right? In those 10 minutes, and on my armchair, there would be one bag hanging with just few felt pens, not even all 24, just few of them. So I would take out the paper and I would color one petal. My goal would be one petal, okay? So that I would be happy if I get to get a flower out of it, right? And even that particular thing would be something that would make me happy, that there are so many people, there are so many things that I'm achieving. So these are a few of the things I've realized. So this is one thing where some petals have 5 to 6 colors, and that's why it looks the way that it looks. Not always we will be able to do things that we have been doing. Okay? This sounds like a very saas bahu thing also, right? That when you say that hamesha se aise karte aa rahe hain, I have always done it. When you have done it something for such a long time, the time was different, you were a different person, your resources were something which were different. Okay? In the next segment, what I want to do is that I quickly want to show you how media works and how sometimes we think that certain thoughts are our thoughts, but they are not really our thoughts. Okay?
Binoculars. Pick any player on or off the field, and I will guess the number.
Any play. That's like 100
I don't know
to 1.
if you have seen
It's good odds for you. 2 million.
That's fucking crazy. Oh, I don't like it.
Okay. I'll sweeten it for you. You pick the player, and she'll guess the number.
What? You're fucking crazy, but I can't turn down free money. You got a bet.
Elvin!
Don't drag me on this. But it's not enough you lost everyone's money, my money.
Oh, she sounds like my wife.
Get your hands off me. Sick.
Hey, come on, wait.
Whoa, hey, don't put your hands on her.
What the hell is your problem?
Tell him to keep his damn hands to himself.
I understand.
Hey. Look at me. Hey.
Please don't make me do this. Please.
Just pick.
Don't make me do this. Just let me go.
Just do it. Pick a fucking plan.
Please don't make me do this. Please. Please.
Okay. I got one. Do you want me to write it down?
Nah, I trust you.
Then it's her turn.
Just do it. Pick a fucking player.
He's crazy, I know, but it will be his fault, not yours. No hard feelings. No hard feelings.
Pick.
I guess number.
Now this person is a curly hair, the curly hair person, number 55.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I've been around for a long, long year. Stole many a man's soul of faith.
Number 55.
I was around when Jesus Christ had his moment of doubt and pain. Made damn sure the pilot washed.
Okay. So I'm sure that quite a few of you are surprised that how he did this. So let's look at that as well. And that is the very idea of showing this to you.
They're going to kill you! What?
You did great. You did great. You did great. Lee Yuan Sei, legendary gambler. He bets on everything, anything, huge cash bets all the time. Once the Bellagio put Bill Gates out of the high roller suite because Lee Yuan was flying in. He is the perfect Vic.
How did you know who he was gonna pick?
We told him to. We've been telling him all day. From the moment he left his hotel room, we've been priming him, programming his subconscious. He's been seeing the number 55 all day long. On the elevator. In the lobby. Even the stick pin on the doormat. Not only that, we loaded his route from the hotel to the stadium. He looks out the window, primers are everywhere. Now he doesn't see it, but he does. There's no getting around it. He even sees far.
So you also see the person there and the person here shouting, right? Now this in psychology is something which is called as priming. So priming is where there is an idea which is introduced to you in a place that you don't assume you will get any kind of ideas. We can have a look at this cartoon as well, where it looks like an eye test, but it is suggesting that that person should buy new specs. So little later, when he sees a specs ad, he may think, oh, maybe I should buy new ones. And he would buy it and he would go ahead and tell his friends that I felt like buying it, so I bought it. But somewhere he would not even know that it was because of somebody else. Now, this is also something which is very similar to if I say and let's say this was an online an offline class, that after this, we are all going to go and get pizzas. And I'm going to take you to a place which has the best cheese burst pizzas, and it has 4 types of cheese. And when you're going to pick up a piece, it's going to stretch. I'll also give you a leaflet, or you can check it out online. And you really see those tiny bubbles and bursts happening on the layers of the cheese, and you'll be very happy with it. So all the while when you go, the brain is expecting a tasty treat. That and the entire mahal, the lighting, the smell, everything in a restaurant or any place where food is served is kept in a way where people get happy and they get hungry. So the emotional brain gets stimulated. And when you finally take that first bite and your teeth really would sink in into the cheese, you would love it more than you would have otherwise loved. What happens at home? The mother says, I'm making pizza. And you're like, okay. And then you're sitting, she comes and gives you, and this is how you're eating while you are watching TV. Okay? And it's not that I'm any different. When me and my brother were young, we would run to the kitchen to get the second helping when the break will come. Now, of course, we can play and we can pause, but earlier we had to wait for the break. So that's when we would run. So in the home, even if the food is of better ingredients, it may taste better, it is made with love, it doesn't taste the same as the outside food. That, and also that they have 200% more salt, sugar, and all. Right? Similarly, let's take an example of a Frozen. Okay, I'm assuming Elsa, the Frozen Disney film, is something which is quite famous and you're familiarized with it. When children want to buy a backpack, okay, or if they want to buy a purse, or if they want to buy a blanket, the parents take them. Okay? Parents take them for shopping, and they are like, okay, make sure that you pick what you like. And the child will, of course, pick up Frozen or Chota Bheem or one such merchandise. And you'll be like, what's wrong with it? Isme galti kya hai? You are going to buy it, and you are going to buy a bag any which ways, that the child buy whatever. The child is buying it only because of some cartoon plastered on it. That bag may not be better than the other one. It may not be waterproof. It may not be higher in utility value. Right? When you want to buy a bag, you buy a bag that serves all your needs. I have selected a host of things here because Frozen has made more money in the merchandise than the movie has made the money because of the movie. There is everything available of Elsa, not just notebook, pencil, eraser, sharpener, nail polish, lipstick, lip gloss. There is an Elsa mug, there is an Elsa toilet seat, there are Elsa bras, there is Elsa everything. Look at this one product here, the one that are these bowling alley pins. Now, when you go for bowling, you need a ball, you need a place. Okay? The make of the pin, the color, the design doesn't and shouldn't matter, because it is not something that you have to beautify or to express your own individuality. So, but if you're going to give somebody, you will spend more and get the Elsa one. Okay? And that is where that mistake or the error happens. Another such thing is something which is called as framing. Okay? Let's take an example of framing. There are a few things here. If at all, say I'm taking a lecture, right? And somebody comes late. And the first thing I ask is, why are you late? What happens? The person is already feeling slightly bad because they are late. And when the first thing bombarded is the word why, the person becomes defensive, and this becomes a battle of this against this. Right? Anytime you have a fight with your friend or anyone, why do you always do this? The minute you throw the why word, the person becomes defensive. As a therapist, we are taught never to use why. You can use why without having to use the word why. Right? The next, as Justin Bieber says, never say never. You may not want to say no to certain things. You can say no without saying no. There's an Instagram account of this girl called Lo Linda, and she's amazing of how she fights people at workplace with her words when they are giving her overtime without any money. So if somebody comes and says that you have to do this, you can, no, I'm not going to do it. I said, okay, I can do it. I can do it as long as this part of my work is cleared out. And if I have the time and I have been given these things, I can do it. So whatever reasons that you have for not doing it should be presented in a certain way. And then there is something which is called as order effect. So I would be teaching the BMM and the BFM students there. So if I tell you that BMM is one of the most exciting and the most colorful course which is out there, it is so much fun. The first semester, maybe you'll be thinking like, hum with eco and socio and all those things. But if you hang in there, it's amazing. And in the second semester, you have psychology. Or I could tell you that BMM as a course in the first semester, you may feel that ye kahan aa gaye hum with the eco and socio, and the relevancy is not that much. But eventually, if you hang in, you'll have fun. But it's the most exciting and the most colorful course which is out there. Both of these statements will have different kind of effect because of the order of the adjectives which are used to describe the course, right? And please remember, this is an example. So in the first one, because it starts with positive, you have an overall positive image with 1, 2 additional negatives. It's as good as saying that a zebra is white with black strips or black with white strips. When you say black with white strips, you imagine the entire zebra to be black first with additional white on it. And when you say white with black strips, you start with white first with black on it, right? Okay, so there are some comments. I'm quickly going to look at it. Okay, how do you know I'm a Slytherin? I don't know, but anyways, we'll figure that out later. What happens when you put framing and priming together and add another friend called as repetition? So these are actual newspaper cuttings from a newspaper. Let's see what it says, right? So this is the first page of it, which says, and the headline screams, a premiere for noble cause. It talks about how Sanjay Dutt is going to help Uttarakhand flood victims. I'm quickly going to read it. By holding a premiere of his latest release, Police Giri, which also stars Prachi Desai and Prakash Raj, he has requested that proceeds be donated to the Prime Minister's National Relief Fund. And last night, producers, the name of the producers and everyone was present. Mahesh Bhatt said, I usually don't attend film events, but since this is Sanju's first release post his imprisonment, I made an exception. Sanju has once again shown that what real professionalism is by putting his personal tragedies on the back burner. Sanjay has always been at the forefront for such causes and look forward to his film because here he plays both cop and a gangster. Police Giri, produced by Star Entertainment, worldwide, releases today. Okay. Now, ideally, what is it saying? What a nice person, what a nice gesture it is. But it is also an ad of the movie because who is in it, what it is about, who's producing it, everything is given here. Then there is somebody saying that, oh, he's such a hero. He's also shown so dashing, so powerful, what stature, nicely. So remember, this is the first page. Then comes the very famous third page, right? Now, this is an ad of the app, an app called Alive. Okay? But what does it say? How beautiful is she? Like she's done 10 golden facials maybe, and the solitaires that she's making, but she's so sad. Okay. So the first one also says he is a hero. He needs my sympathy. Look at the vibe. Okay. And he served this term. He needs our sympathy. And the same page, the same 8 or 12 page newspaper, this is the last page. Okay. Where the debutant is touched by Sanjay Dutt's gesture. And she's a new person. She says, once the song was shot, he left the set and I felt disappointed that I didn't get enough time to interact with a senior actor like him. Later, when I was about to leave, I saw him walk in. He had written to wish me luck. He's such a humble gesture coming from such a man of a stature is overwhelming. Even while shooting, he made me feel absolutely comfortable and all of those things, right? Now, when you are done saying how difficult it is to say a best of luck, all right? But he didn't do it. So in the first one, it tells us, oh, how he needs our sympathy and empathy, how the wife is in the second one, oh, how the wife is bichari, she's crying, she has money, but what will money be if your husband is not there with you? In the last one, oh my God, an absolute newcomer, outsider is saying nice thing about him. So this is priming, this is framing, and with repetition added. This is one such example. Everywhere around us, all the media that you expose yourself to will have various such things. Okay? I think this is all the time that I have that I was allotted to. So I'm going to stop this here and let go of this last part. I must thank all of you for giving me this kind of an opportunity for one second, I don't know where the shared window went. Sorry. But especially Pooja ma'am for selecting me and giving me this opportunity to connect with all the first years. If you are going to be one of the BMM or the BFM batches, then I'll see you in class. The rest I'll see you. If you see me around during orientation or wherever, please do introduce yourself. The last thing that I'd like to tell you is that there have been wars in the country because of oil, because of water, but in the coming time, the most precious thing is going to be human attention. We cannot see even a 13-second reel or story. We have to let go of it. The things that we see on YouTube or Facebook, we put the playback speed as higher because we don't have that time. So those of you who will be able to create content are going to be the masters of tomorrow. You'll have the world at your feet. Right? And thank you so much for giving me this precious resource, your attention for such a long period of time. If there is anything that you need, which is in terms of therapy, that is the reason this number is shared and the email ID. Thank you once again. If there are any questions that you have, I am open to that. Okay, I'm quickly going to go through. There is, you have given me 1 hour. Please give me 1 more minute. There is a quick question, a quick feedback form that I have that I'm going to share the link. Sorry, it's on my phone and the phone doesn't have connectivity here. So I'm quickly going to share it. Please take that 1 minute to give your feedback. Till then, you can give your feedback here or more than here. If there are any questions at all about what we have done or anything else. Okay, sorry, there is no network here, so the feedback will have to wait. I'll have to figure out a way to do it. Am I still connected with Zoom? Where did all of you go? Oh, yeah, you. Okay, so let me quickly look at the questions. Akshat, please let us know how much time I have.
Yes, ma'am, we have few minutes, ma'am. No issues, ma'am.
Okay, so somebody is asking, is it okay to suppress emotions sometimes? What happens to ourselves psychologically? See, it is okay to suppress your emotions publicly in that point of time, but they need a channel, they need a release somewhere. So either you can verbally share it with somebody, you can write it in the diary, and if nothing else, you must always introspect. So for those of you who may have asked, when we were talking about what do you think psychologists do and do you think they can read minds? Yes, you understand other people better, but before you understand other people, you have to understand yourself. And there is one way to do that, which is introspect, which is look internally. So when we spoke about the financial goals, we spoke about social goals. There are also spiritual goals that everybody should have. It's starting with 5 minutes a day, sit calmly, okay, focus on yourself, focus on your breathing. Think about your day. What are you thankful for? What would you have done differently? If I'm shouting at a student for coming late, yes, the student shouldn't come late, but do I really need to shout? Is there any other way to solve it? Should the volume be slightly lesser, or should that 10-second shouting could have been a 5-second shouting? That kind of introspection is something which is needed. Right. So Akshat has sent this feedback link. Everyone, please take 1 quick minute. Please let me know what kind of future sessions you would like. I wanted to include overthinking here, but overthinking itself is a 1-hour session. So it takes up a lot of time, and art therapy is something that we have to do side by side. Okay. Somebody is asking, is it okay to be selfish sometimes? See, it is okay to be selfish, but what do you understand by being selfish? Does it mean that you are making sure that your 5 rupees are safe, even if it costs 50 rupees to somebody else? Because that is something that you should ask your moral compass if that's going to allow. Yes, you can think about yourself. You can think about making sure that you are not hurting yourself. There may be toxic people around you. I would say cut them out. If you have friends around you who are suggesting that you smoke with them or just try out once, cut them out instantly. They are not your friends. Okay? Nobody who wishes well for you will ever directly or indirectly pressurize or suggest that you drink or smoke or spend more money on something. I had a friend told me, just buy the dress, it's 1,000 rupees. And this was some 10 years back when 1,000 rupees had more value than it has today. Never pay 1,000 rupees for something that you feel you can buy for 800. There will always be more dresses. There will always be more makeup, but those 200 rupees will lose value for you. It takes a lot of time and efforts to even earn those 200 rupees. Somebody is asking, what is toxic positivity? So toxic positivity is focusing always on being positive and positive alone and not allowing any other emotions. Good vibes only, always be happy. Those of you who have seen Inside Out even one, you know how negative emotions like sadness or aggression or jealousy is a part of our everyday life. Okay? If there is some other teacher next to me who has more students in her attending her session, or people love her more than me, a part of me will feel that envy that I wish even I had that. And there is nothing wrong with it. It's an absolutely natural feeling, and that feeling needs to be processed in a certain way. I can't push it out saying, no, I don't feel that. So toxic positivity deals with how you can't always tell people, be positive, do yoga. Okay, sometimes you need additional help with things. Did all of you go? How to identify if somebody is a good friend? I have trust issues. I can't even identify the individual's intentions. See, when you are making new friends, yes, you don't have to have a lot of walls or be cautious, but don't also be an oversharer. Don't tell them everything about your family, about your finances. Start with superficial level things first. Spend more time with them. See how they are raised. How their thinking is. The more similarity you have in terms of the way you think or what you want from your life, the easier it will be for you to adjust. Of course, you can go all Bollywood also, one extremely Amir, one extremely Garib, and not just in terms of financial status, in terms of your preferences and a lot of those things as well. But don't be an oversharer. Spend some time with that person. See what your gut tells you, how intuitive you are. And like I said, if the person is asking you to bunk or spend or smoke or drink, they are not your friends. Just dump them there and there. You are in a college where there are thousands of students and you have a huge selection to choose from. I'm always confused about everything. I can never make crucial decision, and many a times this confusion of mine leads to making other people upset. Well, that is upsetting when you go like a pendulum or a seesaw, but don't even rush to make that conclusion. Give yourself 5 minutes. You can list pros or cons, or if it's something which is very small, close your eyes and do any, mini, minor more, but tell yourself that once I choose this, I'm done. This is, if it is a crucial decision, mark a day in the calendar that after this, I will not change it. Don't make your choice public till towards the end. And don't let other people sway or influence you. You can ask them first, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Gather all that data. But otherwise, see what happens is that you have decided on one thing. And then somebody brings this additional information and that makes you sway in a different line altogether. Okay. Can you suggest some good book about human psychology for a beginner or a course? All right. So let me put this here. There is this amazing course on Coursera. It's called Social Psychology by Wesleyan University. It's free. I will never make people spend. I mean, that's why we are doing these kind of things, right? And there is a book called Social Psychology by Baron and Fine. It's in our library. Okay. You can start with chapters like aggression, interpersonal attraction. Okay. Everyone, please make sure that you take the feedback form. The number should still be on screen. Please remember this is for mental health and therapy purposes alone. We are also going to be starting a mental health club, which will have a lot of sessions and activities. If there are any suggestions that you have of what you would like to do, you can inform us, you can share. Once again, thank you so much for your attendance, for your attention and your participation. I truly appreciate it. I'd like to thank Pooja ma'am and Rani ma'am for giving me the opportunity and helping me coordinate. And of course, Akshat and the other students here. Trisha, was it? I'm bad at Zoom today. I can't even see myself. I'm assuming you all can. Okay, so I think this is all that we have the time for. Thank you once again. and hope to see you, all of you, soon in and outside classes. And I mean the other courses outside the classes, BMM and BFM, I'm hoping to see you inside the class, right? Just like Akshat and Twisha, who are always regular, always in class, yet are doing a host of activities. There's a lot you can learn from two of this.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, can I please extend a vote of thanks?
Oh, great. Oh, you giving vote of thanks would means a lot.
Yes, ma'am. So it is my privilege to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks to our esteemed guest speaker, Dr. Nidhi Thanawala, ma'am, for today's enlightening lecture. Ma'am, your insights and expertise have provided us with a deeper understanding of the field, and your enthusiasm has truly inspired us all. We appreciate the time and efforts you have dedicated to sharing your knowledge with us. Your contribution has undoubtedly enriched our learning experience. Once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable presence, for answering each and every question and making this lecture a memorable one. I would also like to thank our Honorable Principal, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani, ma'am, and our Vice Principal, Dr. Rani Tyagi, ma'am, and our respected teachers, and also our dear FYs for joining in large numbers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.